Hi, I'm Craig Elston, naturalist here at the Hudsonville Nature Center. We're going to look at late spring wildflowers today. So those flowers that are blooming in late May to early June. You notice around me the leaves are on the trees. It is getting dark here in the woods. But there is a new round of later flowers that bloom in the spring. We're going to take a look at many of those today. So come along and let's see what we can find. Here we have white baneberry. The leaves are large, 2 to 3 times pinnately compound. The leaflets are whitish beneath, sharply cleft and toothed. Latin means elder, referring to the similar leaf. And here we have the white flowers of the white baneberry. The berries in the summer will be white with a black spot, also known as doll's eyes. Bane is poison, which means that this plant is entirely poisonous. There are 2 species of baneberry in Michigan, white and red. Once the blooming has commenced and the berries started, it is very easy to tell them apart by the thickness of the peduncle that holds the berry. White baneberry are thicker than red baneberry. The light green, elongate, heart-shaped leaves are Canada mayflower, also known as wild lily of the valley. They are found in moist to dry sandy woods, thickets, and recent clearings. Non-flowering plants have only 1 leaf, while flowering plants have 2 to 3 leaves on the flowering stem. Blooming in May and June, the flowers are white, fragrant, and usually in pairs on terminal raceme. Latin genus name means May blossom. The fruit is a red speckled berry which is eaten by grouse and small mammals. Native Americans used roots for headaches, sore throats, and the berries for food. Here we have Solomon's seal. You notice a somewhat arching plant with pointed leaves. The flowers are hanging in pairs from the axis of the leaf below the stem. A rhyme that we use is, "You know I'm real by the flowers under my keel." Imagine that the stem is the keel of the boat, the flowers are hanging below that. This is the true Solomon's seal. Here is a close-up of the flowers. And on the other side of the trail here, we have false Solomon's seal, or false spikenard. False Solomon's seal also arches, but where the leaves are coming off the stem is a little bit red color. The leaves have more deeply prominent veins and come to a sharper point at the end. Also, you'll notice on the left side here, the flowers are going to be a plume of white flowers on the end of the plant, not hanging below like true Solomon's seal. We've shown you true Solomon's seal, false Solomon's seal, and now this plant with the white star-shaped flowers and the long narrow leaves is starry false Solomon's seal. Again, the flowers are out on the end, not underneath. And here's a close-up of the 5-petaled white flowers of starry false Solomon's seal. And down here we have the larva of the Isabella moth, more commonly known as a woolly bear. And here we have chokecherry. Chokecherry is a shrub that grows in or along the edge of woods and has these long clusters of white flowers. Here the light lavender flower just beginning to bloom is Virginia waterleaf. Virginia waterleaf gets its name from the white water spot look on the leaves. As the leaves age, these spots will vanish. The large clump of light blue flowers is wild phlox. This phlox is a woodland plant that blooms in May and June. Phlox has 5 petals, whereas Dame's rocket, that often is mistakenly referred to as phlox, only has 4 petals. These large umbrella-looking leaves are mayapple. Mayapple, when it blooms, has 2 leaves. If there were a flower here, we would see a flower coming right here from where the stem splits into the 2 leaves. Mayapple has a large white waxy flower, and it will have a fruit that is edible when it is completely ripe. Only the ripe fruit of this plant is edible. All rest of the parts of the plant are toxic. There are cancer fighting drugs for 2 different cancers that have originated from this plant. Here's a good example of poison ivy, showing the 3 leaves and the hairy vine. Here on the side of this tree we have an edible mushroom called pheasantback or dryad saddle. When crushed, it has kind of a watermelon rind scent to it. The somewhat sprawling shrub to the left of the boardwalk here is wild blackcurrant. It can be found in a diversity of open forest and thickets, mostly moist, including beech maple forest, swamps, and old tamarack stands, as well as marshy sites and banks of streams and lakes. Notice the toothed leaves that somewhat resemble maple leaves in shape. The flowers are fairly large and conspicuous and numerous in many racemes, as opposed to similar looking prickly gooseberry that has pairs of smaller leaves. The fruit is considered quite palatable when cooked. This is purple avens. The flowers are nodding, yellow, suffused, and veined with purple. They have 5 petals which are inverted heart-shaped. Purple avens is found in wet meadows, bogs, and seeps. The small tree with the dark reddish-purple flowers are pawpaw. The flowers are perfect, having 3 sepals, 6 overlapping petals, and 3 to 5 small ovaries. They are on twigs from the previous year before the leaves come out, and mostly pollinated by flies, as seen in this video. Pawpaw is a member of a tropical family, Asimina. As the only genus in temperate North America, pawpaws are near the northern extent of their range in Ottawa County. Pawpaw are clonal, forming large colonies in the understory as they are shade tolerant. The bark is thin, smooth, dark brown with small wart-like protuberances, becoming rough, scaly, and slightly fissured. The wood is light, soft, weak, coarse-grained, and pale yellow in color. The very large leaves are alternate, simple, and light green. When crushed, they have an odor of motor oil. The large, fleshy, big-seeded banana-like fruit is known as Michigan banana or custard apple. Handling the fruit can cause skin irritation in some people. The fruit is safe to eat when fully ripe with golden flesh. Wildlife also favor this fruit. Parts of the plant contain a sort of natural insecticide. The seeds are large, brown, and somewhat resembling a lima bean. They contain an alkaloid, asiminin, and when dried, the seeds have been ground up and used for head lice. Here we have jack-in-the-pulpit, also known as Indian turnip, arum, 3-leaved arum, and wild turnip. Plants average around a foot tall, but can be up to 3 feet. 1 to 3, usually 3, trifoliate leaves. Jack-in-the-pulpit can easily be distinguished from trilliums without flowers. This jack-in-the-pulpit, these 2 leaves are straight across from each other. If we connect the points, we make a half of a circle. While trilliums, on the other hand, the leaves are evenly spaced, so the 3 leaves make a complete circle when you connect the points. If we cut a cross-section of flower, we can see all the parts. The spathe or pulpit, with the spadex or jack inside, and the tiny flowers at the base. Later in the summer, bright green berries turn to shiny, bright red berries. Jack-in-the-pulpit are found in moist woods and thickets. The fresh plants are poisonous, and the tubers contain calcium oxalate crystals that are like eating needles. Native Americans used it for treating sore eyes and ulcers, and to build blood and for ringworm.